welcome to the Fertility Conversations podcast. The goal of this podcast is to create more awareness about infertility and to provide support to people trying to conceive. Thank you for listening today, and we hope you will be encouraged. And now, here is your host, Ola.
Welcome to episode 23. Today I'm joined by an amazing couple, Hannah and her husband, Oyi. They'll be sharing their journey with us today so far. So welcome, Hannah and Oyi, and thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having us, Ola. We're really happy to be here.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you so much. So to start off, please tell me a little bit about yourself. It can be Hannah or Oyi or both.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
My name is Hannah. I live in the Netherlands. I'm from Nigeria originally, and I moved to the Netherlands in 2016.
Okay.
So I'm 41, and I've been married to my husband for 5 years. It will be 5 years in October next month.
Yay! Congratulations.
Yeah, so that's just a little bit about me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything? Okay. Yeah.
She has covered it. We're married, and my name is Onyi, like you introduced us already, and we live here in the Netherlands. And we're here to share our view about this journey of infertility.
Thank you so much. So how did you both meet?
We met through a friend of mine who is a brother-in-law to my wife now.
Yeah, my brother-in-law kept talking about this really amazing, the way he described him, he's so lovely, he's so this, he's so that. And I was living with my older sister and her family at the time.
Right.
And her husband, or her husband's brother, was a friend to Oni. And he told me about him, and he was like, you guys would be so good together. And I was like, where does he live? The Netherlands? I passed through Amsterdam. I had passed through at the time several times on my way to somewhere else. Never really thought about visiting Amsterdam or even living in Amsterdam or living in the Netherlands. But eventually, we connected on Facebook. So there's one advantage of social media.
Thank God for that, yeah.
Yeah, so he stalked me on Facebook for a little bit, and then we started talking on the phone. And then when he came to Nigeria, he came for a visit. And the rest, as they say, is history. So here we are, 7 years later.
Wonderful. Thank God for wonderful brother-in-laws.
Yeah. They're quite instrumental.
Yeah, that's true. Well, above all, I want to thank my wife. I'm not the best communicator. When we were cutting through social media, I have the shortest answer in the world. How was your day? Fine. What are you going to do? This, yes, no. It was boring. And, social media is also not my strength, But she had faith in me, and she just kept calm till let's see what this will. Yeah, so for those listening, if you meet a guy who is not into talking too much, please give him
look deeper.
Give him, just let him be, and don't judge him by his short answers.
Wonderful. Good advice. Thank you. Because some of us ladies need that for sure. So, today we are here to talk about infertility. I wondered if you would like to share your journey so far from the beginning till now in terms of working towards becoming parents.
Yeah, so being parents has always been, to be honest, I think it's something we thought would happen automatically. It's always been a desire that I've had, and I know Onyi has had that desire and still has the desire in his heart. So we were trying, when I moved to the Netherlands, I moved here in 2016. We were married in 2015.
Okay.
And when I moved here, after a couple of months, I thought this should have happened by now. So I went to see my GP, because in the Netherlands, before you go to a fertility clinic or go through specialist investigations, you have to be referred by your GP to the specialist. So I went to see my GP, and my GP told me, how long have you been here in the Netherlands? And you have to have been trying. The rule is you have to have been trying for at least 12 months. And at the time, I was in my late 30s. And so I thought, my biological clock, and I tried to reason with him, and he was like, nope, doesn't matter how old you are. Wow. If you've not been trying actively for 12 months, then I can't refer you. But I told him, okay, I've been trying for 6 months, just to hasten the process. And so a few months later, he sent us for the investigations. And then it was during the investigations that we found out that on the female side, everything was fine. But on the male side, we were given a diagnosis of azoospermia, which means that there was no sperm seen in the ejaculates. So basically, in the male sample, quote unquote, there was no sperm, like zero. And I think what they say, a typical male sperm sample has like hundreds of millions of sperm. So we had zero, not one, not 1,000, just none. So and with azoospermia, you can have obstructive or non-obstructive azoospermia. Obstructive azoospermia means there's a blockage. There's something, maybe the man has had a vasectomy or tied, his not his tubes, but the passage where the sperm comes out from. But we had non-obstructive, which meant that there was no physical obstruction. There was nothing that was stopping the sperm from coming out. There was just no sperm coming out. And with non-obstructive azoospermia, it can be that it's caused due to a physiological or biological reason. Right. So it could be because of a disease. It could be because of chromosomal abnormalities. It could be because of DNA fragmentation. So we did all those tests. Fortunately, in the Netherlands, your health insurance covers just about everything. Wow. So we didn't have to pay for those. They did the DNA checks, the chromosomal checks, and there was no abnormality. So the doctor referred us to a specialist urologist, who said that he did some checks as well, and he said everything looked fine. So he could not see a reason why there were no sperm. And my husband had to go for a surgery called TESE, which is testicular sperm extraction. So they slice open the testicles, take a sample, and search for sperm. And so they did that, and the urologist the surgeon was so excited, because he said he went in, he found like millions of sperm just swimming around. He honestly could not see why they were not coming out, but everything looked normal inside, and the sperm were fantastic quality. So we got a lot through that process, which was good, because for us, because the sperm weren't coming out, we had been told by the fertility specialist that, well, on your own, you have a 0% chance of becoming parents naturally. So IVF is the only option for you. And for IVF, you obviously need the eggs, which you have, but you also need the sperm. And the only way to get the sperm in this case was through the sperm extraction surgery, which my husband had to do in 2018. 2018? In
2018, April.
So we went through IVF. I think we started IVF in the same year, 2018. We've gone through 4 rounds now. We're in the middle of our 4th cycle of IVF, and all with different outcomes, but this cycle isn't over. But yeah, so we're just still in the journey.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. You've gone 4 IVF cycles. One is hard enough before. Wow. I know. So I know you said that this cycle isn't over yet. So we're fingers crossed that it is a wonderful outcome.
Yeah.
And for your husband, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we hope so, because for all 4 cycles, we've had such different outcomes.
Yeah, each with a different
Each with a completely different outcome. Is funny. I think the first one, I ended up in the hospital. I didn't know that from IVF you were a possible side effect of IVF could be death. But
yeah, I never heard that before. Can you tell us about that? What actually happened? I remember reading about that on your page, actually.
Yeah. So, do you want to go?
Well, everything during our first cycle, everything took off very well, and both the extraction and the replacement, everything went well. We had a good day that afternoon. We went, just to hang around, because they said you don't have to go and sit at a particular place. So, love in Amsterdam. So I decided to take my wife for a shopping
spree. Yay!
Yeah. So, and then, we came back, and she said she was not feeling fine, but of course, your first instinct will be that, it's as a result of what happened today,
Exactly.
Probably you're just reacting to 1 or 2 things. And then we just relaxed. And I remember vividly that day we planned to go to see a movie, but because of the tiredness, we called it off, and we're just lazing around in the house. And we went to bed around 10 or so. And then around 1 a.m., I'm not a deep sleeper. She woke me up and my heart skipped. She said she can't breathe. I thought, are you kidding me?
Wow.
By the time you will say Zed, I'm on the phone calling, the emergency line.
Yeah.
And, thank God, their response is very rapid. Though they are annoying sometimes on the phone, they will ask you multiple questions. And I say, listen, my wife is dying and there is no time for this, questions, because if there is no problem, I wouldn't have picked my phone to call you.
Exactly.
I think that's when they got the message. So they said, well, the ambulance is on the way, and in less than 5 minutes they were here, and we were ferried to the hospital.
Yeah, so what happened was I couldn't breathe. It started with a backache. It had started earlier in the day, and so we canceled our movie plans. And then every position, when I tried to sleep, every position was uncomfortable. And so I couldn't lie down. I could barely sit up. And next thing, it was like my lungs, everything, I was choking or something.
Wow.
So I had to wake my husband up. We called the fertility clinic, obviously. And we got the doctor on call, and the doctor asked me, what are your symptoms? And then she said, I remember so clearly, she said, Madam, you need to call emergency services because this is a potentially deadly situation. It sounds like you have a pulmonary embolism. I thought, what?
I know.
What is going on? She said, can you hear me? And the thing with Dutch people is Dutch people are quite practical, especially when it comes to health.
Mm.
The best usually, I mean, you can be dying of a high fever and they'll say, oh yeah, ride your bicycle, have some paracetamol. So for a Dutch doctor to tell you this is deadly, it means you're probably 1 foot in the grave. Wow. So yeah, we had to rush to the hospital, and so they found that I had several blood clots in my lungs, left and right.
Jeez.
And it was because of the medication, the hormonal medication from the IVF procedure. Apparently, some people are more susceptible, maybe your hormones are more susceptible to forming clots if you are on certain drugs, additional hormones. So that was the first one, and it was really traumatic because we had such a good day. The even in the embryo transfer, the doctor was telling us, oh, these embryos are so pretty. So textbook, and we were really feeling on top of the world. And then it ended, like the day ended in the emergency room, morphine and all sorts.
Wow.
But yeah, that was the first one. So
what a way
from
to start.
there on, yeah, it was quite traumatic.
Yeah.
And then from there on, though, for rounds 2 and 3,
we're going to round 2. Wasn't something we just, from my side specifically, I said no.
I'm sure.
No, I cannot afford to let you go through we cannot afford to go through this again. I mean, this is just, we just came back from the grave. So, I mean, I won't be here and allow you to, go through this again. So we have to find, an alternative. I mean, there are other options out there. But it takes two to tango. I did what I can do, but I also, it's not about me, it's about us.
Yeah.
After a while, we gave ourselves some time to really, recuperate. I mean, she was on a blood thinner for almost 6 months.
Wow.
Every day. So it wasn't just once in a week, every day for 6 months. And after that, we took, I think, about a few weeks again before we said, okay, we know what happened, and why not give it a second trial before we went. So it's not as if we just woke up and said, oh, it's okay. I have to put up a fight.
Yeah.
Because life is not about childbearing, and I love her. Okay, I think I have to say this. The topic is about infertility, but remember, when you exchange marriage vows, it's not about children. It's about protecting one another, loving one another.
Yeah.
And children are gifts from God. It comes as the Lord permits it. But the commitment is for us to love one another. It's for me to cherish her for who she is and not what she is. She's not a childbearing machine. That is not the vow that I made before God. So these are things we should always recall.
From the second round or second IVF cycle onwards, I was monitored, or I have been monitored by an internal medicine medications.
Okay.
But for the second cycle, that was we had a positive.
Oh, okay.
We lost that one, and then the third cycle was a big shocker for us, because that one, we got through the third cycle, but we didn't have any eggs fertilized. And so that was quite devastating. And so we took a break. I think we took quite a long break after that before we embarked on this current cycle. And this current cycle, so far, I mean, by the grace of God, has been looking good, being cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
Because this is the first cycle we've even had embryos to freeze.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful.
And even though at the start of this, I'm not sure I would not have wanted, but yeah, the thing with IVF is that it gives you hope, and that's when you realize hope is so important.
It is,
Just
yeah.
the glimmer of hope is almost everything. Yeah, but that's where we are, and how we've gotten here in this particular journey.
Wow. I keep saying wow because you've had such a difficult experience, and of course I've never actually heard about the experience you had in the first IVF cycle before. So we thank God that you're able to get proper care quickly enough. And it's important that you share that as well, so other people can also be aware that if they feel a little bit different or uncomfortable, it's better to seek medical attention just to make sure or rule out any complications.
Yes, definitely.
And we thank God again, like you said, that you have some frozen embryos in this cycle, because that's important. It kind of helps your mind when you think about it, just to know that there's some backups as well. Yeah,
it does.
It does.
It does.
Thank you so much. And of course, like you said, it seems like everything was done right, because sometimes in Nigeria here, when you go for tests, people just focus on the women. There's not a lot of attention given to the men in terms of actually testing. So I'm glad that in your case, there was proper tests done for both of you at the same time, and the proper attention was given, and the right treatment was done, enabled to access the sperm, which is wonderful. It's not a lot of people that can say that, because sometimes in Nigeria, you hear that, or even other parts of the world, you hear that people have gone through, like the woman has been testing for the last 1 year, 2 years, and the man hasn't really had any tests done. He just says, well, I have a child from when I was in university, so that means I'm fine. And, things can change at any time for anyone. So it's glad to see that that wasn't the same for yourself.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Definitely. I think that is a problem in Nigeria. When I was in university, I worked at an O&G clinic.
Okay.
And I remember a lot of the ladies would come in, with the same complaint, with your own. Where's your husband? This is a couple thing.
Yeah.
You need to come in together. And some men would be vehemently against it. And I mean, we used to see a lot of drama at the clinic, but we told them, and this is also something I've realized, well, not that I've just realized, I've always known, but coming from a Nigerian background, I think I also carried the idea that if there was anything wrong, it would be my fault, especially marrying at a later age, marrying in my mid to late 30s. I always, when I first went to the GP, I was convinced without any testing that it was my fault. But so when we got the diagnosis, I was honestly taken aback, because I thought it could only be my fault. But then that idea comes from the environment that we were raised in, and the way that women are made to feel that childbearing is your sole and whole responsibility. And it's not true. Childbearing and child rearing, both of those activities are a couple's duty. To rear a child, those things have to be done by parents. A couple should be involved. Both mother and father should be involved in both activities. But it takes growing and changing in your mindsets and being able to look at things from a bigger picture perspective to appreciate that.
In addition to what my wife just said, I would add, from a man's perspective, that the day you receive the news, or your wife breaks the news that she's pregnant, automatically the husband is also pregnant, because you will be going through it emotionally. You need to find out how she's feeling at every step of the day. Every day you want to make sure she's okay first of all, because you're seeing your wife. The baby, you've not seen her.
Yeah.
But then there is this expectation that is growing. You need to be there to key in. There are days she might be very tired. That is not the day you spend the whole day in the office. That is not the day you come back with all kinds of excuses. Just like she said, it's a couple's thing. But again, it's the mindset. It's just the mindset of where we're raised and how the society perceives the marriage institution.
Yeah.
To be honest, some ministers are not helping it.
No.
Or ministers of God, the way they present the message, they have to be clear. Love is a person. I love my wife is not, you give her a check of 1,000 or 2,000. No, the way you treat her, going through issues with her together is just the expression of that love. It's not about the gift. And the men forget that the home is, he's the head of the home. When it's wrong, the society will also say, look, you're a foolish man. You're not able to take care of your wife and you're coming out to say something in the society.
Yeah.
But some will not even look at it that way. So just to cut it short, I think every man needs to key in, wherever you are, no matter how busy you are, find time to emotionally, psychologically support your wife.
Yeah.
That's one. So what role do you think friends and family play or have played in your journey currently as you currently deal with infertility?
Friends and families, they've been very supportive, first of all, in terms of words of encouragement, true words of encouragement, prayer, and even just a hug. It makes a big difference. But most importantly, we've been privileged to have friends or families, a family that they've been supporting us from day one, and they've not used or they've not pointed a finger at any of us, and they've not said, oh, if you had done A, B would have happened, or if you had done C, D would have happened.
Yeah.
This has helped us, to navigate or to keep on going. And at every step, we also keep them informed because of the positive feedback we get from them when we call or when we tell them where we are. Even when we decided not to, after the first incident that happened, that I told my wife that we're not going into this again, they didn't say, oh, you are too, it's too quick for you to say that. The reason with me, because I told them my reason that I married her for who she is.
Yeah.
If a child will come, it will come. And they let us be and not, putting pressure on us. So that's a little bit of what I will say that, or how family and friends, they've really come along with us, and we really appreciate them, we have to say it.
Yeah, they've been really great. I think there's a big role in the terms of this providing a support structure that friends and family, there's a big space that friends and family can fill for people who are going through this infertility journey, or as we like to call it a delayed fertility journey. There's a big role because it's not something that you can really do on your own.
Yeah.
Yes, you have your partner, but sometimes you want to speak to, or you want the comforts of somebody who's not directly involved. You want a third party who is more objective about your situation, and you can go to a counselor, because we did that.
That's nice.
Clinic, our clinic offers counseling, even though it's a teaching hospital, but still they offer counseling in the fertility department. And we also looked for a therapist outside of that. So a third party who is just not involved is really good, but it's also good to have the support and know that you have the support of people who care about you and who care about your lives. Family-wise, our family has been really helpful on both sides. I have lots of nieces and nephews, and their parents are very generous in allowing me to be a co-parent. So I don't miss, or we don't actually, even my husband, we don't miss, to be very honest, we have the love of children in our lives. And that's the place that, you know, if you don't have your own children, we don't feel that emptiness so much. Right. Because when we want to, even if we just want to scold somebody, I know who I can call to scold. If I want somebody that I need to scold. So, and friends and family should also be sensitive about what they say and the words that they use, and about placing blame. It's not a blame, it's not an issue of blame. It's not an issue of you would be better off with or without this person.
Exactly.
We really need to be sensitive, but also to be available for support for people in our lives who are going through this delayed fertility journey. So for me, I found it invaluable. The second IVF cycle that we had, for instance, my cousin lives in England, and I think a day after, my husband called her and told her, okay, we've had this miscarriage. And within a day, she was knocking at my door, and she spent a couple of days with me. She has 3 children of her own, but she just dropped everything and came down and spent the weekend with us just to encourage us. And so that's the kind of practical support, you know, even if you can't do something that is that drastic, even just to call the person that you know who is going through this journey on the phone and say, we love you, and we love you as you are. We love you as a couple. We love you as you are, and we support you whatever decision you want to make that is right for you as a couple. We will stand behind you. That's a really important thing that they can do.
So important. It's amazing that the role that family and friends can play is such, like you said, invaluable. And it's wonderful that you had a cousin like that come over right away to be with you and just comfort you during that time. I'm highly impressed that both of you actually went to counseling and therapy. That's another thing that we don't do so much here in Nigeria. I think maybe the Black community is not very common, but for sure in Nigeria it's not. Because when you talk about counseling and therapy, you're like, what? Sure. There's nothing wrong with you. You're okay. Right? Because that's how we think.
Everybody has issues.
They will think, do you have a brain problem?
I know, it's just more like, what? But you're right. We all have issues we're dealing with.
Everybody has issues that
Yes, so that's very impressive that you did that. Was that something did your friends, like, did you choose to do therapy, or just because your hospital suggested it?
Well, our hospital offered it to us.
Okay.
They said, oh, would you like to speak with the counselor here on staff? And then they said, oh, we can. Well, actually, a friend of ours, a Dutch lady who had gone through several IVF treatments herself, suggested it before we started, and she said, oh, you might really need this, and she gave me the number of her therapist, but they had a long wait list. So when we started, and the clinic said we have a counselor on staff, and so we started seeing the counselor, but then they gave us a referral also. They said they could write us a referral if we wanted to see a full therapist, and they wrote us a referral. But it was partly because they suggested it, but I just thought it would be a good support system, because here we don't have any family members living here in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And sometimes, as much as family and friends are helpful, sometimes you want just an unbiased third party to listen to you, not to offer solutions, not to tell them what they think about about the situation, but to listen to you neutrally. And that's what really the counselor did for us.
Nice. Very glad to hear that.
And I think you went to the counselor on your own once, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. And you found that helpful as well?
Yeah, because he's a neutral person, and he has nothing to lose. He has nothing to gain.
Yes.
So it was good talking to him, and also, he just listen to what he's saying from a different perspective. You get a different. I got a lot of positive feedback from him, because some of the things he said, I didn't even think about those things, or I didn't see things that way. So with that help, it helped me to navigate, through the rough time or season that we encountered.
Wonderful. And so, let me ask you this question. Will you say that infertility, or like your wife said that you prefer to say delayed fertility, will you say that it has changed you as a person?
Well, that's first of all, it's a good question. Yes, it has changed the way I see things, and also helped me to redefine what is important and what is not. I have been open. I think that is also something that I'm not this person who puts pressure, oh, this is not happening, that is not happening, or I begin to treat my wife in a way that is not in an uncalled or in a way that is not really helpful, or in an unloving manner.
Right.
But with the support that I also got from her, because when I got this result, after I visited the clinic where I did the first test. Actually, that was something we missed. I went for the first sperm test, and I got the result, and it's just like you're in a dreamland. You would not accept it. Well, as a man, you just want to take it easy, ask the why me question.
Yes.
Is this true or not? I had a call with my GP, and I told him, well, I don't believe what I'm seeing. But then when we had the opportunity of going to another specialist, or to another specialist hospital, they recommended that I do the test again. And that was, the turning point, where it was clear that the first result was as good as the second one. So it has helped me to see things from a different perspective, that life is not all about, bearing child, but it is also important. It's something we both desire. We pray about it every time, whenever we have the opportunity to, speak to God, though we do that every day, but as couple or as individual. But it's also important to know that that is not what defines you as a man or as a person.
Yes. So true. Thank you. Hannah, do you want to add anything to that? From your perspective, would you say that delayed fertility has changed you as a person?
Yeah, infertility or delayed fertility, in our case, has helped me really to realize, with Onyi, to realize what's important. But it's also if I may say that, improved or deepened my faith in God. Because I think especially on this last IVF cycle, I have realized that not many people are privileged to be as close to the creation process as anyone who goes through IVF. Because in IVF, you get to see, you're with the cell that's developing, or the follicle that's developing, which may contain an egg cell, and I just pray. As long as I'm taking the stimulation medication, I'm praying for those follicles. I'm praying for the cells that are in those follicles, or maybe contained in the follicles. And then with the same thing when they're fertilized, and then you see an embryo. How many people? Now maybe thousands of people, but still, compared to the billions of people on Earth, not many people get to be as close to the creation process as that. And so I've seen that as a amazing privilege. I've really come to realize that's a privilege, and it's really strengthened my faith in God, because I've also come to see infertility not as a bad thing per se, because a lot of people use that word. When we first got this diagnosis, I thought it was such a bad thing. I was crying and saying, "Oh God, why would you let this happen?" Which is a question that people ask a lot, when something that makes us sad, or something that is out of our expectations with life happens. Then we say, "Oh God, why are you doing this? Or why are you letting this happen? If you are so good, if God is so good, why would he let this happen?" But through it, I have realized that, one, as the Bible says, his ways are not our ways, his thoughts are not our thoughts. So what I may consider such a bad thing, and when I look at it, I realize it's really just a part of my human condition. Take, for instance, death. Death in itself is just another thing that happens in life. In itself, it is not a bad thing. We may feel bad, those of us left behind, but for a Christian, it should be a joyful transition. So I've come to see kind of IVF as a growing, well, not IVF, but the fertility journey as a growing pathway for me, spiritually and as a person. I've become more empathetic. I'm quite, as a person, I'm very practical. I'm not superstitious about anything. I tend not to really feel what I used to not feel what other people are feeling. You can tell me, "Oh, that person is really suffering," and I'll be like, "Yeah, what did they do? Or what's my business with that?" But because of this fertility journey, I've become a lot more empathetic. I feel things for other people, even if I have never been in their situation, even if, they're in a completely different situation of life than I am in. I've become so much more empathetic, and I like to think I've grown in my maturity, in the sense that I know that I cannot control everything. And so I have learned to let go and just to live life one day at a time, and also to enjoy the life that I have now, instead of always living in the future. "Oh, when we have the children, then we'll do this." No, we do fun things now. Go on a cruise. I just decided to live life like that now, not waiting for when this dream state happens. So that's what I've really learned in this journey, to live life joyfully now, and to enjoy even this journey, and to learn from it and grow in it.
Wow. Those are really important lessons. Those are really amazing lessons that you both have learned, actually. It's in infertility, and when you're waiting to have children, sometimes it can be almost like the only thing you think about sometimes, and you forget to enjoy the other blessings that you might already have while you work towards having children. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And only if you could go back in time to tell your much younger self before you met Hannah many years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, what would you tell your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Well, it's good to dream. I mean, there's nothing bad in dreaming. Yeah, I will tell myself, you know what? You have to face reality when, accept reality the way they are when, you face them. Or when I learned this saying, accept pressure when they come, because when you close the door behind the pressure, it builds up. So when the first pressure comes to you, accept it, assimilate it, go through it. Then you learn how to navigate the second pressure. So I would tell myself, you know what, enjoy that youthful stage and then prepare yourself. Let it be a preparatory school for the coming days and years. And I would always tell the younger ones that I meet, I say, listen, life is not the way you see it. It can flip over in split seconds. Just like that, you think, am I in a dreamland? So like we just said, we appreciate each other for who we are and enjoy each other's company. Though I'm annoying sometimes, I'm still annoying.
Hannah is nodding. We all are. We all are annoying, and we all can be annoying.
But I really appreciate her for who she is, and would encourage each other to look, accept reality, and don't live in this fairy land. Just come back to reality and know that you're on planet Earth.
Yes, well said. Hannah, is there anything you'll tell your younger self that you think this journey has?
Yeah, I would tell my younger self to be patient with yourself and forgive yourself. Not everything has to be perfect. Not everything has to look good on paper, because it's not how it looks that matters. It's not how it looks that counts. Take life really as it comes and enjoy it, because I used to be quite driven about things. Oh, I want to be in this stage professionally at this age. I want my family life to look like this. But yes, I think in the past 10 years, I've realized that there's so much that you can't control. So it's better to just enjoy the things that you have with you and the people that you have with you when you have them. Enjoy where you are when you're there. Not everything has to be perfect. And you won't collapse or die, or you won't crumble if it's not perfect. You won't, so you'll survive. That's what I'll tell my younger self. Not everything has to be so picture perfect. It doesn't. Even in the imperfection, even in the cracks, there's beauty in things that are not so perfect. So try to see that beauty.
Well said. Thank you. And is there any word of advice, like in terms of actually maybe not advice, a quote or affirmation that you use daily that has helped you during this journey?
My favorite one is in your get understanding. Have an understanding of what you are into, not only in terms of the area of spirituality. We're talking about delayed fertility. Do I really understand it? What impact, what lessons would I say that I have gotten from it? And how can I be a blessing to those who are going through the same, who are struggling or who are also having a delayed fertility? I always say this, the primary encouragement is the one you give yourself. The one you get from people, it's called secondary, but the primary encouragement is what takes you to your destination. So we should learn to be an encourager and encourage ourselves and tell ourselves that, look, I've done my best today, and I believe tomorrow will take care of itself. And then tomorrow, again, you put in your best. And don't flog yourself, like my wife said, when things don't go the way you plan it. So in all you're getting, like I said, get understanding. It is really, really important. Understand what people are saying, understand why they are saying it. It may not be immediately, but give yourself time to process the information that you glean from, the conversation you had with somebody or with someone or with a friend or with, a family member. It's really important. It will take you a long way.
Wonderful. What about you, Anna? Any word of affirmation that you tell yourself daily?
Yeah, there's one thing first that I tell myself is every day is that God is good. That is his character, and God is just. That is unchangeable. So if this is happening, it is good. If I'm in this place at this time in this world, is for a good reason. And the other thing that I've been reciting to myself daily is a hymn that my mother used to sing when I was younger. And it says, it's a Christian hymn, obviously. So it says, cast your eyes on Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of the world will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. And I've been, for the past month, every day this hymn, I say to myself, it comes to mind, and it reminds me not to look at the situation around me, or not to look at the situation that we're in or what we're going through, but to look beyond and to look at what holds me, what grounds me, where my anchor is.
Right.
So that's, I would advise anyone, even if you're not a person of faith, to find something that anchors you and look beyond whatever issue it is to that thing that holds you or gives you an anchor.
So important. Thank you for sharing that. And as a wrap up, Onya, I'd like to ask you this question first. You see, I'm so impressed by both of you to actually come out and speak about your journey so far. And actually a lot for you, Onya, actually, because I know that there are lots of men out there that might get, that firstly would refuse to get tested and keep insisting that the wife should get tested. And secondly, that actually gets a diagnosis like that and proceeds to speak with the doctor and see what you need to do and get it done. And also be open with your wife about it and just, deal with the issue itself. So that's really impressive, because in reality, that's not very common. So if there's another man out there listening that perhaps maybe visited the clinic by himself and found out that's the case, but doesn't want to tell his wife or is not sure how to, what word of advice would you have for that person listening, or for that man that hasn't gotten tested because he just doesn't see the need? What would you say to that person?
First of all, for the man who hasn't been tested, he should go for a test. It's really important. He shouldn't begin or have this feeling or this mentality of, oh, it's the woman's issue, or whatever the society might have pumped into some of us men into our head. He should go and see a consultant, if you want to do it privately first, or you can discuss it with your wife, especially if you're a Christian couple. You have a home. I mean, it is both of you that make up that home for now. So sit down, discuss with your wife, say, look, I need your support, and I want to go through this. And I believe whoever that is listening out there, your wife will give you all her support. You will be her hero, because the society already, or your family, on the side of the man, is already concluded, or they've already concluded that this is the woman's fault.
Yes.
So save your wife. If you really love her, save her by going for that test. And if you have gone for the test and you have received, the same result that or results that I received when I had mine, it's not an easy thing to swallow. An easy pill. It's not easy. I mean, you have that first shock, but because of the medical, how do you say this? Services that is available, or the treatments that are available, rather, that's the right word. Because of the availability of treatment, then there's hope. And again, that is not what defines you, because here at the beginning, my wife mentioned, where you have a blockage, or where obstruction and non-obstruction. So if there is no obstruction, or maybe it could be from your family, say gene something.
Yeah.
It's none of your doing.
Yeah.
It's just genetic. You cannot do anything about it. And of course, I so much appreciate the local herbs that they would advise you to go and drink. But well, our body is not the same. There is this saying, when we were young, when you go to the barber shop, you will tell the barber, please cut my hair like you cut my brother's own. But your face and your brother's face, they are not the same.
Yeah.
So one person might take it and end up in emergency. Another person might take it and probably survive it. So please seek for professional help. Seek for professional help. And also be prayerful. God can do all things, but you have to do your own part in order for God to do his own part.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that info. That's amazing. It's really important that we have men listen to that and know, just in case they're dealing with something similar, and know how to approach it. Hannah, anything else you'd like to add as a wrap-up? Any word of encouragement? Maybe another wife out there dealing with delayed fertility, or that her husband has a similar diagnosis. Any word of advice or encouragement to them?
The only thing that I would add is that you need to look beyond the current circumstance, beyond the current situation. If you're dealing with male factor infertility in particular, or even general infertility, your life is made up of more than that situation. Already, if you are a couple, you're already a family.
Yes.
You're more than one person, you're a family.
Exactly, yeah.
You're a family of two, but that's a family in itself. And so it's important to see each other and really appreciate each other. Fertility, whatever side of the couple or whomever in the couple bears the actual cause, is not the person, it's not a fault or blame situation. Nobody asks for it. It's just something that's part of our human condition. It's part of the way human beings, our biology has evolved at this point. We've come to this point where some things are just not working as well as maybe they were because of our environment. It could be pollution, it could be processed food. Nobody knows what causes these things. So whoever the person is in the partnership that has been diagnosed with this particular with the cause of the infertility should not be seen as the person causing the situation. The person didn't ask for it. And I think the percentages for infertility go, I think usually 30% of the time is the cause is with the man, 30% is with the woman, the rest of the time it's unknown. So it's pretty evenly distributed. And so if you have a diagnosis of with an unknown cause, for instance, and everything is working fine on both parties, who will you hold to blame? No one. You still have to love each other. So my advice to any couple walking this journey is to take it step by step, take it day by day, and try to love each other, which is what we're trying to do as well. It's not an easy journey. It really isn't. But there can come good out of every situation. You know, if you allow yourself to grow in the situation and try to see it from a different perspective, try to see the areas where you are improving as an individual or you're building your relationship, and focus on the things that matter.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Thank you both. You know, I've learned so much listening to both of you, because many times when I speak with people, they're talking about the journey to how they become parents now. So it's pretty great to speak with people that are still on the journey, because sometimes people that are listening are still on that journey, and they want to, sometimes people think, well, it's easy for you to say, be happy when you're no longer working that journey. But it's amazing to speak to both of you, that you're both living well now. You're living, you know, you're enjoying each other. You're enjoying all the blessings that you currently have while you await the children that will come. So that's important. That's an important story for people to hear, to see how you're both speaking with each other, to see how fondly Oyi speaks about Hannah. You know, it's pretty amazing. You know, for Nigerians, that's so important. You know, I live here in Nigeria, so I understand what I hear most of the time, right? By the time you're married, even for 1 year or 2 years, and you don't have any kids, you know, people are already on your case, the husband.
Thank you. I hope there will be, even if it's just one person who finds, you know, some encouragement in this journey, because we're still on the journey. And I trust that we will keep growing in this journey. No matter what the outcome is. I think we've reached that point where no matter what the outcome is, what's important is our marriage is our marriage. Our marriage, you know, the point of being married is to be married. Then maybe children can come later, but work on the marriage. And that's what we've been trying to do, be married to each other and appreciate each other. So I hope, you know, even if one person is encouraged by this, one man or one woman or a couple, you know, sees that there's hope. There's treatment for male factor infertility. You can seek treatment. It might not be so readily available in Nigeria, but the world is a much smaller place now, so you can kind of reach out and look around.
Yes. Well said. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you both on here. And I have been inspired and encouraged. So you already checked off that box. You said you wanted just at least one person. So one person done, check.
Yes, okay, so we can stop.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Thanks so much for making the time.
Well, I mean, via your Instagram, if your listeners, they still want to reach us, I mean, we are also open.
That's wonderful.
Through your Instagram, we are open. You can always contact us.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
If they want to hear details, so that they wouldn't think that we filtered what we answered, we would definitely.
No, it's a real story.
You know, we're telling them a true life experience. This is not a Hollywood movie. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Exactly. So people want to.
Our integrity is, because our integrity is on the line,
Yeah.
If we mislead people.
Yeah, you're right. Some people might want to, some man out there might want to reach out to you, or a woman out there might want to reach out to you and talk more, ask more about details. So thank you for being open to communication from other people in the future. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Fertility Conversations podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at Fertility Conversations. If there are any topics you would like to have discussed, please send an email to fertilityconversations@gmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. Thank you again for listening. Take care of yourself and do stay hopeful.